Good afternoon, Chetan. It is wonderful to have you here today as a part of our Customer Insight series. I would like to talk to you regarding your experiences with Intellect. But before we begin, I would like to understand your challenges as the head of Treasury in dealing or navigating through this landscape, right? Maybe you can talk through that.
Sure. Thanks, Lokesh, for having me here. It's a great pleasure always interacting with Intellect personals, as they have been doing wonderfully well for themselves, and not only now, credit to them, not only nationally but even across borders. Coming to the question that you have asked about treasurers, what sort of risks they are looking, or what sort of navigation they are looking. I think first and foremost at the top of the list would definitely be regulatory issues and compliances that really have to be looked after in this most dynamic world wherein things are changing not by the day but by the hours. Secondly, again, technology and innovation at the forefront is again some of the matters that need to be looked into very calculatively. Thirdly is liquidity and funds management. That has been an integral part of how banks manage their balance sheet. Fourthly, and I think this is one of the most important, though it is the fourth point, talent resource and training of the staff that has to be taken care. So any person entering into the field of treasury, not only in the front office but mid office, risk, back office, they have to understand how risks play out and what mitigants that can be taken to see to it that every risk that has been countered can be well mitigated or contained or come to the notice at first instance itself.
Okay, wonderful. I think you mentioned one important, and I'm picking up the keyword that you mentioned, that liquidity and risk and up to date. In our experience, I think up to date definition has changed to up to minute, right? Now, if I have to pick up that specific, expectation, you as in your role, rather, right, and you're using a platform which is coming from Intellect, right? How do you see that? I think that expectation, I'm sure you are actually living up to that expectation within your organization. And then we as a platform provider or a solution provider, are we basically able to help you to basically live up to that expectation?
Definitely. I would definitely give a thumbs up to that, especially in this world when constantly changing world, when we are dependent on data analytics, and as far as now we are into the world of AI. So I think real-time information is what is needed to make the quickest of decisions and even for negotiations. I think therein Intellect has come up really well. Your new series .ai, eMACH.ai has really got some risk parameters for risk management, as well as I think there are over 150 parameters for the plug and play, where you can watch what conditions needs to be fulfilled in order to have your risks in control. Not only for treasury, but I think you have those parameters even for SMEs, corporate lending, for transaction banking, for every other segment in what banking industry can come into. That is, I feel, yes, you are a step ahead, not only locally, but even I feel globally for that matter.
Yes, that's excellent. I think good to hear that. I'll just continue this conversation regarding this one. You said that step ahead. I'm just trying to bring the perspective of regulator here, right? And then we as a provider continue to catch up with the regulatory stuff which is happening, so that we enable our customers so that at least their ability to basically live up to the expectation, and then internally also manage those expectations. Now, very specific, you being a global bank and then operating in India, right? Cross-border payment and cross-border exposure on a multi-currency, management of the cash, which is linked to the liquidity, because managing the liquidity, which is cross-currency, right? Can you touch upon that topic within the context of the system you're using from Intellect? How effectively and efficiently you're able to look at those liquidity positions cross-currency wise, right?
I think, as mentioned earlier, risk mitigation is the key. Now, when we operate globally from a bird's view, it is very essential that we have this control within ourselves. And as the geopolitical scenarios arise, so as it directly impacts the position that we have. So stress testing is one of the key parameters that we look into the system. Stress testing, scenario analysis, through which we educate the departments which are related to global markets. So I think therein the system plays a very important role. Live updates of, because now when we're talking of global markets, it is not just a 9 to 5 markets for us. It is a market in which it's a 24/7 market for us. Especially if we look into the future, wherein we can see that we are talking of decentralized finance coming into the picture. We have got the central bank digital currency, which is also talked about. So these things would definitely impact liquidity, the payment processes, the cross-border payments again, which comes into the picture. So I think the systems should live up to these parameters when we are talking of the future.
Fair. Now, you mentioned, I think interesting, I think we've been able to relate on some of this topic, stress testing. Again, since we're talking quite a lot of the regulatory part, RBI mandates that stress testing up to 30 days period, right? We're essentially trying to understand that how liquid bank position is there to manage it. Now, one is that when I simulate the stress testing based on very simple scenarios, and then we go to the adverse and then very complex adverse scenarios as well. But there's a concept called reverse stress testing. That means I look at the end state and try to bring it back. What's your comment on it, and then ability to manage that?
See, what I feel is that stress testing is when we do it, we look at the environment in a very natural, calibrated way, as mentioned by the regulator. Reverse stress testing, as in when we talk about it, so there are various scenarios globally which can come into the picture. So if I say to it that tomorrow if something goes to happen and maybe my liquidity buckets are going to be out of range, so how can I see to it that what is that impact which is going to have in my immediate bucket, the next day bucket, or maybe the bucket which succeeds the immediate bucket. So that way is even reverse stress testing is an important concept. But I feel stress testing does play out its part as compared to reverse stress testing, because then there are a lot of permutation and combination which comes into the picture if you're talking of reverse stress testing in particular.
Fair. Now, if you have to articulate 2 or 3 areas wherein you believe, and this is very something specific to as a provider, technology provider, Intellect as a technology provider, what are 2 or 3 things you would articulate that this is where you see Intellect stands out?
I think in today's world where everyone has to be customer savvy, I think one part where Intellect would definitely stand out is giving out the customer behavior. For me as a consumer, or for me as a provider to the customer. So that one part I would definitely be interested in, the behavioral part of the customer, on as in what product requirement is a consumer behind after, or what favors a consumer at that point in time, looking at his position in the market. Secondly, risk management. Risk management plays out a very important role for us in Treasury, especially as mentioned earlier in this dynamic world of geopolitical scenarios. That is secondly a second thing. And thirdly is integration of seamless integration, as I would talk about, between front office, then your mid office, risk, and the back office. Yes, that is how I would see into it.
Okay. One last question, Mr. Chetan, right? You mentioned about global geopolitical situations, and I'm sure this aspect of this global economy is not going to change. Number one. Number two is that it is interconnected economies now, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Something happening is one part of the world definitely would have, some ripple effect in another part of the world.
Absolutely.
And especially within the financial ecosystem, when you look at it, treasuries plays a bigger role because they're the one who are going to manage this,
yes,
right, in some form and shape, because it's the flow of the money, end of the day, right? You being global bank operating from India, I'm sure quite a lot you have seen through going through that as well. And I think through our platform, and I just want to comment on it and want to hear how do you feel about it, that so these are all events which are happening globally, right?
True.
Now, if you are given a capability and saying that if I pick up an event and try to see that how reactive I could be, and I would say reactive in the sense my agility increase X times, right? To help me to understand the impact of this and provide a solution, right, to my customers as well as to my board and management as well, right? This is what we are doing as a part of our eMACH platform, because eMACH is an underlying platform and a technology which is enabling all the solutions, and also the treasury solution. If that comes to your table and say that this is what we have, how would you feel about it?
When you talk about geopolitical risks, definitely the one thing that comes to the mind is the nations holding each other's throat. But I would slightly deviate from the topic and maybe even count sustainability or ESG integration as a matter of topic that can actually be seen as a risk. So not taking the normal route but slightly deviating to this part of the world, wherein we see you have the climate issues coming up, you have the ESG part coming up along with sustainability, you have the developmental goals, sustainable goals, so I think even that can be seen as a risk. So I would definitely want to see the platform, the eMACH.ai platform, wherein how well it can help an organization to see to it that the sustainability goals of not only the organization as a whole, but also integrate it with the goals across borders, or even for that matter domestically, nationally, and see to it that how well we can integrate that into the system. That is what my feeling is.
No, I agree. I think it's a good point. And in terms of sustainability, I would call it the sustainable finance, right?
Yes.
Now, Treasury as a function has got a responsible finance, and then that's where they look for some of these, green investment opportunities, investment instruments, trying to do that. And I would be happy to state here as well as that with our platform, you would be able to manage some of these sustainable objectives for sure. I think we've been doing with some of our customers globally as well.
Fantastic.
Right? And very soon when you would get, specific elements of these features in an upcoming version, you would be happy to see that. In case you want to look at it, definitely you'll get it.
Fantastic.
With that, I think I would like to end this conversation. Once again, thank you very much for your time today and spending with us and sharing your experience and thought with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lokesh, for having me. Thank you.